Good morning and welcome to October. Of course, for authors, that means a lot of us are doing some Halloween novellas and novels. So we did some brainstorming the other day in one of our romance sessions. And we went into ChatGPT and I just told it I wanted to write a Halloween themed romance novella. No other guidance than that because I like to start broad and then narrow down with the ideas. So of course it gave me the basic elements and everything that we need to focus on for Halloween story. An example, which actually wasn't bad at all. But I skipped over all of this part and just gave it my responses to the initial elements that it said I needed. And then it refined that example outline and gave us a story that we all actually really liked. It was pretty on point for not having a lot of guidance. So we got our characters, the plot points, the things that we will have representing the Halloween, the romance elements. And then I asked it to just flesh out the story some more, create the character descriptions, told it what all I wanted in the descriptions, role and story, occupation, personality, and talk styles. I wanted to make sure it added 2 quirky over-the-top side characters. This is new for me. I decided I wanted to turn this into more of a rom-com. And Mindy, one of the expert users inside Sudowrite, had this in a little prompt. So I swiped that, added it to mine here. And of course, I always like to use the Enneagram type. And then I asked it for a list of 10 minor characters using popular archetypes and to go ahead and do an extended setting and location list for the story. This portion of my prompt is something I got from Marigold. Her YouTube channel is actually linked to my channel. It's the AI Writers Connection where her and Cece share some amazing information. If you're looking for getting started with writing with AI, her stuff is extremely detailed and you just can't go wrong following her. So, of course, just adding in my own little things that I like for my characters, taking some suggestions from other people. I have my prompt there. And it fulfilled my request, giving me everything for the town, the main characters. I'm trying to make sure I scroll slowly. I have a habit of scrolling very fast. And we have, all the things that we asked for: occupation, personality, talk style, and you can say speaking style, whichever wording works for you. Just make sure you keep it the same with all of your prompts. We got our Enneagram types. We got our minor characters and the extended setting and locations. Then I asked Chat for an example of a conversation so I could see how the characters are going to talk to each other. This allows me to adjust. So now it's going to take all of the characters and have them all having one little conversation together. It doesn't matter if you're doing this with like a protagonist and villain and all that. They're suddenly going to be all together in a room or a place and having a conversation about the same thing. Right here, after you would read through this gives you a chance to adjust anything. You might say, you know what, I need this person to talk more intelligently, or I want this person to say very little, short responses, things like that. In this instance, I actually liked everybody's speaking style. So I told it I liked the characters in the plot, asked for an extended synopsis, because if you say just synopsis, it tends to be on the shorter side, like 300 or 400 words. If I ask for extended, I can usually get more like 600 words. Also told it to make the synopsis detailed and not vague. So it gave us everything right here. And you will see this is what I actually copied into Story Engine right here. It's over here in my synopsis. And then, of course, for the themes that it gave, I put that over here in my genre box. So going back to ChatGPT real quick. So we're taking all of this information that it gives us and putting it over inside our Story Engine area. So we have all of this. I did first the tone, themes, and writing style for the story. And I went through what it gave me and just pulled out the elements that I liked. And again, this helps us fill out our boxes inside Story Engine. If you've attended one of my 201 sessions recently, I actually have a Google Doc with a chat conversation that was very helpful in learning how to format your genre and style boxes. It kind of gives you a new way of looking at them. But again, I don't want to make this a lengthy video. So we just took the parts from this chat that we liked, brought that into Story Engine. Now, I'm not going to show any graphic stuff, so please don't worry about this. But in the class that we were doing, it was for spicy authors. Obviously, if you're not doing that, you don't want it here. So I put the things that chat gave me that I liked and also adding in my preferences. So for this story, I did first person. I typically actually do third person, but I wanted a little change. So again, we copied everything from chat. And this is a combination of mine and Marigold's preferences. She gave me the formatting, so I just changed in some of her wording to reflect what I wanted. This is a little tip for those who find themselves changing up the outline a lot, or even the characters here. So if you put instructions in brackets like I have up here at this, whenever you create the character box and the outline box, when you generate inside those, it actually takes this instruction into account. So normally I prompted ChatGPT to give me the characters the way that I wanted them. But if I'm working strictly inside Story Engine, because I know all the details for my story already, I will prompt inside the synopsis box and ask it to give me those characters that certain way, which the prompt was. Asking for all the details, the physical descriptions, Enneagram type for the main characters, asking for those minor characters and the setting locations. You can fit all of that in your synopsis. Just put it in the little square brackets so it sees it as an instruction, and it does take that into account, and it works beautifully. If you do not have the room here, you can do the rewrite button. You can see up in these question marks what everything generates from. So outline looks at genre, synopsis, and characters. So let's say you were wanting the character descriptions this way. You knew the format that you wanted, all the little details. You would put your instructions to receive that format and all of those details for your characters. Put the instruction here in the synopsis box, but you didn't have room to format the outline box. That's fine. You could put your instructions for the characters in synopsis, generate your characters, and then before you generate your outline box, you can actually put in your instructions for how you want the outline to look. That's an option too, or just use the rewrite box, which is at the bottom of each one. Scroll down here, you would just put in the format that you want. In this instance, I had plenty of room, so I did that. So we have our characters now, the outline in the format that we want. And I wanted to show y'all a little troubleshooting before I started another story with the brainstorming. We generated a chapter here. I gave it my header. And then we have all of our beats. But when it generated everything, I didn't really care for Bart's speaking style here. And this is one of the areas you can go back and forth with chat for various things. If you don't like the type of prose you're getting, you can say, hey, here's what's in my genre and style box. I'm aiming for something like this. How can I adjust? And just go back and forth that way. In this instance, I told chat, I copied Bart's dialogue from Story Engine, asked chat to describe it for me. So this all came from Story Engine's outputted prose from our current description of Bart inside Story Engine. And it was pretty close. All of these are currently in his description. However, it went a step further and refined it for me, and I like this a little bit better. It's not so over the top that it's just awful, but it did add some distinct characteristics too. So I told I like the refined version. Now, how can I adjust his talking style in the character description so that he speaks more like this refined version right here? And it gave me that. And also a little example. And this is the great thing about working inside one chat. It learns from everything that you've prompted and kind of starts giving you things without you even having to ask for it, which is great. So I am going to split my screen real quick so I don't have to go back and forth and mess y'all up. And I am just going to take in this new character description and generate some prose with it real quick. Go to our characters. We get Bart. Let's check. This physical description stays the same. That stays the same. So personality is when we start getting a little different. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in. So basically it's taking what it did have and just expanding on that, giving the AI more details. I don't really know that I want this last portion, but I'm going to go ahead and stick it in there just to see. All right, so we've taken Bart's personality and talk style from ChatGPT. And we are going to regenerate that chapter we did before, which is chapter 5. I'm just going to copy the beats. That way I know everything's the same. Except for the change that we made to the character box. Let me check which models I used. These were most accurate and best prose. I'm actually going to do fastest right now because it tends to give a lot of dialogue. Now we can see here I did not adjust for my POV up here in the header or in my style box. That's an error on my part. And you can see how it messes up because it's in first person POV and it just reads very weird. So that's my fault for not adjusting correctly. Okay, so we have they meet Bart Cackle, the character that we adjusted for his speaking style. And I'm actually not crazy about this either. So this would be one of the instances where I'd probably take a little portion of each of his dialogue and kind of refine it further with ChatGPT. And that's what I mean about troubleshooting and kind of going back and forth with it. Let's do one more version with Best Pros and see how it does. Little leakage there. And Best Pros is probably my current favorite. It used to be fastest, and now it's kind of second place. I use Best Pros more. Fastest is great for fight scenes and anything that might read slow or you don't want to bore the reader. Because in the fastest scenes, it generates the fastest, that's why it's called that, but it also reads very fast. So you won't get bored. You have, again, that ton of dialogue in fastest. And I'm just checking out Bart's dialogue here. I actually like this one a little bit better. So that's good. This is something I would keep for probably another chapter and try it out again with Bart talking more and just playing around and refining it. And don't forget, you're a writer, so you can easily just edit things to your liking when you're actually editing the full story. Let's go back to ChatGPT. And we are going to brainstorm. Make sure my screen is sharing. We're going to brainstorm another story real quick. And again, we're not going to go into details. I do have some other videos up with going into details, and I will do another one to try to stay current with this month's Halloween stories. But let's just do this real quick. I have two in mind, but first, I just want to talk with Chat a little bit. I like being polite to him. I'm just going to say, hey, Chat, it's October. That means authors everywhere are releasing their Halloween stories. And I'm not going to really say anything else. Again, just priming it up. That's something I learned from Mr. Ryan Rivers. He was a teacher with Sudowrite, and he's also with the Future Fiction Academy, teaches classes over there. I highly, highly recommend him. His teaching style is just amazing. So we primed ChatGPT, just knowing that we're talking about authors and Halloween stories. And gives us a little output. And I like doing generalized things like this too. If I'm fixing to get into dialogue styles or something, I might ask it for a broader overview of elements before I dig in to the specific element I want to get into. It just helps get more ideas out there. I'm talking about spine-tingling horror, mysterious thrillers, or lighthearted ghost stories. So this, for instance, since I'm not normally a horror writer, I would actually take this and save it somewhere in a Google Doc or Notion. And these would be the type of things I could use inside my genre or to prompt later for, okay, I want this type of story. So it's asking if I'm looking for recommendations or have a specific story in mind. And I do. It's not fully fleshed out yet. But again, this is going to be a short video where we just have a little fun. And I do this once a month, just having fun with chat. It's a great way to relax your brain, have fun going back and forth with the conversations, and get some future ideas. So I'm going to tell it I am writing with AI. AI tends to be very optimistic. My preferred writing style is dark. And however, seeing AI be so optimistic and constantly giving lines such as, we will get through this together, gave me an idea for a story. I want a serial killer. And I'm just going to say, think Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers. I want a serial killer who kills off a group of friends. Actually, you know what? I don't want to go that detailed yet. That is where my story is leaning, but first I want to see what ideas it has. Let's do this real quick. So we're going to leave it at that, actually. Because that wouldn't finish off my thought. Who ends up telling one or more of his victims. Don't worry. And I have another line I actually want him to use, but again, I'm looking for some ideas. So now it gets the gist of what I'm wanting, that serial killer vibe, but I also want it to utilize that AI phrase. So it gave me an outline because I didn't prompt it for anything specific. If you'd like, instead of it going straight into an outline, you can say, please give me 5 ideas for a story premise or something like that. So we have the serial killer is the whisperer. Wasn't that actually Michael Myers's name in the books or somewhere else? Or maybe it was the shadow. I don't remember. Serial killer with a mask. And I definitely would not put that in there that's covering his emotions. Again, it's showing us exactly what AI tends to do. You know, if somebody's evil, they're masking their emotions in some kind of way. He has a signature phrase. We would change that, but it understands what I was trying to get within this story. Okay, so innocent town folks, we have Detective Morris trying to catch you. So it's not bad. And from here, I just like to have that back and forth conversation. I will actually go through all of these and say something like, here are my thoughts. And then I would put number 1 and tell it whether I like this or I don't like this. Please give me more ideas. Or I'll say, I like this, but let's change it to something else. I don't know, maybe I want to change the guy's name or say, hey, Detective Morris, is searching for him because the killer killed one of his family members or something like that. And I would just go through that for this whole list. Like I said, I wanted to keep this video short. I will do another one where we go more in depth on this. But I hope this was helpful in getting things started. And again, trying to help you see how you can use ChatGPT to start refining your characters and really bring them to life within Story Engine and get that prose really singing and coming out close, if not on point, for the way that you envision that story happening. So I hope this video was helpful and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.